Hello, welcome back to part two. So, if you remember, in part one, we cleaned out our HR data sets, we validated employee tenure, categorized performance, and identified understaffed departments using Excel formulas. Now it's time for the strategic insights. In this part, we're going to be answering some deeper questions that directly impact compensation, promotion, retention, and employee satisfaction. So this is where Excel stop being a spreadsheet tool and become a decision making tool. So let's get right in. Are some departments overpaying relative to performance? HRO is not just about people, it's about performance, it's about efficiency, it's about satisfaction. Now, one of the implications of answering this question is it will help us to highlight the poor return on investment on compensation. It will help us support performance-based pay decision. Looking at as for department overpaying relative to performance, that is their performance commensurate to their pay, then to help us to improve financial accountability, so that we won't just be paying staffs that are not performing well, paying them compensations, paying them extra bonuses when their performance is going down, right? This will help us to track if departments are actually overpaying relative to performance. So let's check it out. Now we're going to be working with this department right here, right? So we're going to calculate first of all. We're looking at the average salary, right, compared to the average performance. So I'm using the average if. So I'm checking out my range, which is the department range, and working with this department right here. My criteria, the average range is my salary, my monthly salary, right? So I've done that. So I think we already did this before. So after getting this, I want to divide it by the average performance for these departments. So the same principle, average if, right? Departments, checking if it matches department, and performance score. Performance score is, where is it? Yeah, this is it. So average performance score, close the bracket. Now, when we have a high salary and a low performance, that is a definition of inefficiency, right? It tells the story of inefficiency. When you are being paid so much and your performance is so low, that is inefficiency. So from what we have here now, our highest value is the red flag. So our highest value here is the finance. Correct? Yes, the finance. So this raises questions. So we have to dive deep into checking the salary, checking their performance across board, and taking actions so that we could reduce the idea of overpaying staffs relative to their performance. So the next question we're looking at is there a gender pay gap? So I'm going to do it here. Is there a gender pay gap? So I want to look at the pay of the male, how much are the male being paid averagely, and how much are the females being paid averagely, how much the others being paid averagely. So let's first of all get the pay, the average pay. So using the average if function, I'm checking out the gender. Remember the gender, not the departments. Then my criteria is this, right? Then the average range is salary, which is K. So on an average, these are the pays. So let's put it in two decimal places, comma. So we'll see that the others are being paid more, right? The other has been paid more. The others have been paid more. So we'll see the distribution between the gender. Let's check out our next question. Are top performers paid above the company average? Let's paste it here. Get bold. Now, here I'm looking at the performance score and monthly salary. I want to calculate the percentage of top performers that are earning above the average company salary. Right? Top performers, I mean those that have their performance score excellence, right? Excellence is above, like we have here, above 4. Now we'll be using the count ifs because we have to check out two criteria. Checking if the performance score is excellent, the performance category is excellent, and we're checking if it's above the average monthly salary, right? So let's get right in. So we're doing the count ifs. Now the criteria 1 is I'm checking if this performance category is excellent, right? Criteria 2, so I'm checking if this monthly salary, is greater than the average of the monthly salary. Let's check out this. Okay, I need to put this in double quotes, then join it with this. So this shows us the number of top performers that is above the average salary. So now let's calculate the number of top performers generally, even those that are below the average salary. So that one is basically using count. For count, if counting if this or this, the criteria is excellence. So we have 19,000. So basically all we have to do is this divided by this. So we have 71.9% of top performers that are above the average company salary, which is fair. So that too can be reviewed. So because if we had many top performers below average pay salary, that is a red flag because that is a retention risk and it will bring about people leaving the company. So, and 71.9% is a fair number, but we could make it higher by reviewing the salaries for the top performers. So, we can hit something like 85-90%, which is a very good place to be. So, this will help us to prevent the loss of high value employees, support merit-based compensation, right, and strengthen performance culture. So let me just give this heading: number of top performance above average monthly salary. And this is number of top performance. This is the percentage of top performance above monthly, above from average salary. So we have this. So what's our next question? Are employees working overtime more productive? More hours does not always mean more output, right? So this analysis now will to help us to reduce and redefine productivity metrics. To also find out who is really productive, and to encourage sustainable work practice and improve long-term performance. The logic behind this question is we're checking the productivity, that means based on project handled, then we'll compare it with the high overtime versus the low overtime employees. So let's check out our overtime. We could see, let's check out the drop down. We have from 0 to 29. So we could say anything above 10 is high overtime, right? Then anything below 10 is the low overtime. So we need to now calculate the average projects done by the low overtime workers and the high overtime workers. So I'm going to do that here. So I'm just going to do low overtime, which is less than 10, then high overtime is greater than or equal to. And let's do the equivalent 10, then here is with less than or equal to 10. So let's do it that way. Now, so with regard to the average projects handled for overtime that are less than 10, so is really the function average if, right? So the range I'm looking at is overtime R, right? The criteria is it has to be less than or equal to 10, right? Then the average range is for the projects handled, which is M. So let's close the brackets and enter. So do the same thing for this. Let's see. So this now, what I just do is to do erase like greater than 10. So the low overtime workers are actually doing 24.4, while the high overtime workers are doing 24.44. 5. So the interpretation is that the higher the project, the better the productivity. So if we were to change the narrative now and make this less than or equal to 15, then make this greater than 15. Let's see. So the higher overtime actually are more productive over time. So let's give it a 10. Okay, so the higher overtime are more productive. Just a slight difference. So we're able to tackle that and say that the higher overtime are more productive. So the next question is, which job roles handle the most projects? Which job roles handle the most projects? Now basically this is quite straightforward. We could just work with it up here. So let's put it up there under the job roles. So let's copy it down up here. So I'm going to calculate total projects handled by these job titles, right? So sum if. Now I'm summing the job title is my range. The criteria is this, right? Then the sum range is the what's it called? Project handled. Yes. So close the brackets. So there's no dollar sign here. So we could see the project handled by different job titles. So which job title handles the highest? We could see it's specialists. We handle most of the projects. What this helps us to do is to identify the role overload. It helps us to support redesign or compensation adjustments. It helps us to prevent silent burnouts. So let us know the roles that are carrying out more loads, organization load compared to others. Now, what's the next question? Are remote workers more satisfied? So let's find out. Are remote workers more satisfied? We'll find out right now. Are remote workers more satisfied? Now, basically, HRO policies should be driven by data, not assumptions. Yes, that's why the data analysts will play a very vital role in ensuring questions are answered, not based on sentiment, not based on assumptions, not based on feelings, but based on actual data to tell the actual story, right? So, and what this will help us to do is to guide our remote work strategy to improve our employee engagement and support flexible work policies. So from up here, we could see we already calculated the number of employees that work remotely, which we have about 80% work remotely. So I want to check, are these 80%, are they more satisfied than the 20% or the less than 20% that we have? So I'm going to have two criteria, remote and non-remote. And remember that the remotes have the remote frequency greater than 0, while the non-remote is equal to 0. For the remote, I'm going to calculate the average if. So I'm checking my remote frequency. That's my range. Now my criteria is that this is for the remote. It has to be greater than 0, right? And the average range is my satisfaction column. Greater than 0. So we checked out for the remote frequency that is greater than 0. So now our average range is our employee performance satisfaction score. So let's do the same for the non-remote. For this to be equal to 0. So we see that the remote workers are more satisfied than the non-remote workers. On average, the remote workers are more satisfied. There's a slight difference than the non-remote workers. So, and another way we can look at it is probably the high remote workers and the low remote workers. If it's less than or equal to 50, low remote workers. If it's greater than 50, it's a high remote workers. So let's check it. Let's check it that way. Let's check the high remote, then the low remote. So it's the same principle. Let's just copy this, paste. But for this now, the high remote, I'm going to check if it's greater than 50, right? Then this I will check if it's less than or equal to 50. So we see that the low remote workers are more satisfied compared to the high remote workers. High remote workers are workers that have the remote frequency 75 above 50, so basically 7500, and so the employee satisfaction score is as shown. So it depends on how you want to approach it. So this approach is for the remote workers and non-remote workers, while this is for the high remote workers and the low remote workers. So what's the next question? Does team size affect satisfaction? Let's answer that. Does team size affect satisfaction? So let's come right here. Now, if you are new here on this channel, kindly subscribe to my channel, check out my previous videos, drop your like, your comments, then let us know in the comment section if there's any topic you'd like us to cover in our next video. Now, does team size affect satisfaction? Well, team structure has a direct impact on morale. The team structure, it has a direct impact on the morale of the employee. So, and the implication of this is that it will help us optimize team composition. It will help us to improve management effectiveness and also enhance employee experience. Now, the logic behind this is that we're going to compare satisfaction across team size range. Across team size range. So we're going to create a new column after the team size. Right. This column is going to be got a categorization for team size. A small team should be like less than 5. The medium team should be between 6 and 10. The large team should be above 10. So let's check out. We have between 1 and 19. So above 10 should be the large team. Between 1 and 5 should be the small team. So the 6 to 10 should be medium. So categorizing that is, so I have like, if this is less than, so let's use the ifs. If this is less than or equal to 5, so we have a small team, right? So if this is less than less than or equal to 10, we have a medium team. Then if it's true, we have a large team. So let's check this out. So this is a large team. Let's check with 12. Let's check. So 7 is a medium team, 1 is a small team. Good. 10 is a medium team. 3 is a small team, 6 medium team. So with this now we're able to categorize our team category, right? Categorization. So I'm going to double click to highlight for others. So the logic for this now is to compare certification score across the team size. For the small teams, we're looking at how satisfied are they. For the large teams, how satisfied are they. For the medium teams, how satisfied are they. So this is a question. We have our small team, we have our medium team, then we have our large team. Now I'm going to get the average. If now I'm looking at my range, it's gonna be my team category, right? Now the criteria is this, right? Comma, and the average range is gonna be my score, satisfaction score. So let's check what we have. Good. Now let's drag it down. Medium team. So there should be an error in the spelling. So let's confirm what we have here. Medium team. Let's just this. Good. So basically we could see that the large team are more satisfied and better employee satisfaction, followed by the small teams. So the medium team is the least satisfied, the least size with the lowest satisfaction. So this could raise questions like, okay, why is that? And the HRO could dive deep to know what's going on there. So it's just let us know that most of the time large teams actually are more satisfied, probably because the workload is reduced and they have enough hands to carry out their work, enough support. So the next question we have here is, how long does it take to get promoted? Interesting question. So based on our data now, we can deduce this. How long does it take to get promoted? Now the logic for this is that we're going to be focusing only on the employee with promotion. We're focusing only on the employee with promotion, and also we're going to be using the years at company, how long they have been in the company. So we're calculating the average years of the company based on for those that are promoted. Now look at the promotion column. So 0 means they have not been promoted. Now we have up to 0, 1, 2. So this person has been promoted twice, promoted once. So 0 hasn't been promoted. So to get this done is we use the average if. Now our range is going to be promotion. Where is it? Yeah. Now the criteria is that this promotion I've selected now, it has to be greater than 0, right? So that means we're going to be dealing with employees that are promoted greater than 0. Now the average range is years in the company. Is it? So close the brackets, enter. So basically we could say it takes 5.9 years averagely for get promoted, and that is wonderful because it's quite a long period. Because when you have a long promotion cycle, it increases resignation actually. So if the HR finds this out, something should be done to reduce this period, so something like 2-3 years, so that we could increase retention for the staffs, right? So we have about 4 questions to go. If this is your first video, kindly check out my channel, subscribe, like this video, and share it with your colleagues. Share it with your HR. Next question is, do promotion improve satisfaction? Interesting question. Do promotion increase satisfaction? So let's find out. Now the logic for this is that we're going to be comparing satisfaction of promoted versus non-promoted employees. Remember, the non-promoted have promotion of 0. Promoted have greater than 0. So I'm going to bring in promoted, non-promoted. Is it promoted? So for promoted now, I want to calculate the satisfaction. So I'm using the average if, the average satisfaction for the promotion, which is this. Now I'm working with the promoted here, so that means my criteria is going to be greater than 0, right? That's promoted staff greater than 0. Then I'm looking at the average of the satisfaction. Now the same principle for this, but for this now I'm just going to make it equal to 0. Okay, so basically we see that the promoted staff are more satisfied compared to the non-promoted staff. They have a higher satisfaction compared to the non-promoted staff. So we are able to compare satisfaction of promoted and non-promoted employees. And this would have drawn a question: if the satisfaction for the promoted was less than the non-promoted. So the next question we're going to work on is, Which department promotes employee the fastest? Interesting. I think we want to know which department promotes employee the fastest. So let's work with it right here. So the logic here is that we're looking at the average years for the company, average years of company for the promoted employees per department. So that's the logic. For us to also find out which departments promotes employees the fastest. So we're going to look at the average years at the company for the promoted employees for each department. So we already have our departments here. So I will get that again. I'm going to use this. So first of all, I'm going to get the average. So I'm using the average ifs because I'm checking two criteria: department criteria and the promotion is greater than 0. Remember that. So the average range, we're getting the average for the years at company, right? So that's our average range. So the first criteria is the department, right? So the criteria itself is going to be this. The second criteria we're looking at is the promotion. Is the staff promoted? So this. Then I'm looking at it has to be greater than 0. So this gives us our answer. So basically we'll see that across board there are 5 years, but the highest we have here is this, which is customer support, which means that customer support takes the longest time to promote the staff, but the fastest we have is, let's check, is the sales. So the sales is the fastest department to promote employees, 5.8 years, which is the smallest. So this highlights departments that has a very strong growth culture, right? Very strong growth culture, even though the values are close, but it's still lost. So it tells us the story pertaining that. So let's rush up the remaining part of the question. So we have, who are the most unpaid high performers? So let's bring it down here. Who are the most unpaid high performer? So first of all, we're looking at the high performers. They are looking at salary below departmental average. Salary below departmental average. So tackling this question, finding out who are the most unpaid high performers. So we have to create a new column because we have all the employees here. I'm going to check out who are those that are the underpaid high performance. That means this person has an excellent performance, but the salary is below the average. You get it? So we're going to be checking that. So I'm going to create a new column here. But let me rather create it after the performance category. Okay. There's a function called if. I'm going to check if I'm checking two criteria. If the performance category is excellent and the monthly sales for this person is less than the average monthly sales. So I need the AND operator and function also. So the first logic I'm checking is this is equal to excellence, because excellence is our high performer. Then also, second logic is the monthly salary. Do like this. Is it less than the average? Now the average, I'll use the average if, because I'm going to do another calculation here. Average if, so my range is the department, so I'm checking the average for each department, right? So I'm checking, is this employee 1, is his salary, is it below the average of its department's salary? Probably the IC department, now they have an average salary. Is this employee 1, is it below the average salary for the IT department? That's what I'm checking here. So is it less than, okay, sorry, that's the range. The criteria would be so this criteria, this department, then the average will be the monthly salary, right? So the two logic, this whole question now is the logical test. I check if this is excellent and if his salary is less than the average salary, right? So now comma, if the value is true, that means I should have call underpaid high performer, right? Else just put an empty string. So let's see. So we're going to see that this is empty now. So let's double click. It's loading. Okay, so it's loaded. So I'm going to give it a heading called let's see what's our question here. So let's see, underpaid IP, like that. So we will see this employee employee 8, same with employee 13. So several other employees. So this will enable us to target salary adjustments. Yes, where there need to be some strategy. Now, the question like this is where Excel becomes just beyond just a tool, becomes a decision making tool. The last question we're looking at is who is at the risk of resignation? Who is at the risk of resignation? This is the question HR cares about the most, because number one, the implication is that it enables proactive intervention even before the person resigns. It's to save recruitment costs, the cost of having to recruit, train the new staff, the time, and it will improve the workforce stability. Yes, rather than having a high turnover rate, you have people being retained in the organization. So the logic we're going to use for this question is to look for employee that has low satisfaction, that has a very high overtime, and low performance. they're not satisfied with their work, they're not performing very well, then we have a very high overtime. You're working extra hours, right? So that's a very high resignation risk flag. So let's check out how to do that, carry that out. So in tackling this, we're going to create another new column. We'll create it just in front of this resignation risk flag. It's loading. Okay, so I'm going to be using the if function and my and function also, because I have several logic I'm looking at. First of all, I want to check if the satisfaction is low. Now I have satisfaction here, so I'm working with this low satisfaction. So I'll say if this is equal to low satisfaction, right? And that logic is the overtime. Let's check out the overtime. Is the overtime? Yes. If this overtime, so where are we? If this overtime is greater than 10, that means overtime hours greater than 10, then another thing I want to check again is the performance of the person. If the performance needs improvements, I use needs improvements. So remember, you have to spell it exactly as it is. So another thing we will check, we'll check out 3 criteria now. We'll check if they have not been promoted. If they haven't been promoted, so let's check that's promotion. Yes, if promotion is equal to 0. So one last thing I want to check is if the salary is less than the average for its departments. So basically that will be the average, as average if. So the range is departments, the criteria is this, then an average is the salary. Where is it? Good. Good. So we have 5 logic. We are checking, first of all, is the satisfaction low? Satisfaction? Is the overtime greater than 10? Is the performance, does it need improvement? Is the promotion 0? That means no promotion. Then the salary. Okay. Then is the salary, that means the salary here, is it less than the average salary for its department? So these are the criteria we're looking at. So we'll close. So if all this is met, that means that person is at a very high risk. Let's put it at very high risk of leaving the company. So you can say yeah, other else lower risk. So put the brackets, lower risk. So let's check. So okay, so we already have, so coming out we will see all the employees, the person that is at very high risk of leaving the company and has not left. So this is a very high risk employee. So we see false, he hasn't left, so we need to pay attention to this person. What's going on? What's going on? So first of all, we will see a red flag. He has a team size of 1 and is handling 9 projects. You see that working hour per week is actually very high, 57 hours per week compared to others. You can see it across the board. So then you can have a count of the higher risk and the lower risk, right? Yes, we've come to the end of these tutorials. Now, this is how you use Excel formulas to answer real HR questions, business questions. Now if you noticed, we didn't memorize syntax. We basically translated real business questions into logical formulas in Excel. And that's what separates someone that knows Excel from someone who thinks like a data analyst. Now, if you could use Excel to identify unpaid high performer, detect resignation rates, resignation risk, analyze promotion speed, evaluate pay equity, then you're not just practicing Excel, you are building job ready analytical skills. If this video helped you, kindly like the video, share it with someone learning data analysis, share it with your HR team, subscribe, because next we'll be turning this entire HR analysis into a dynamic Excel dashboard. And remember, tools don't make analysts, thinking does. Thank you.